All right, welcome back to class. This is March 19th. Talking to my online as well as my in-presence students. When I went to high school, there was always VCR day, and the teacher would always say, "Does anyone know how to use this VCR?" And I always would laugh at the teacher because, hey, they didn't know how to use a VCR. Now, at the age of 42, I feel that way because of all the tech we have. I'm always stumbling through it. But the good news is everyone's doing it, and I believe it's because technology has splintered into multiple levels. So today we're going to look at two things. We're going to look at how we can enhance our teaching, as well as we're going to look at the TIAI instrument, which I did not know. I have not addressed that in this class. So let's go ahead and do that. When you go to Mississippi State's website, I'm going to get rid of you, sir, and I'm going to slide you away. When I go to Mississippi State's website and I go to College of Education, you can find it through other links, but this is the best way for me to find it. So I'm going to go to College of Education, and right here under Academics, Office of Clinical and Field-Based Instruction. Office of Clinical Field-Based Instruction is also known as OCFBI. So if you're going to go observe, field-based, and licensure. It is run by Director Dr. Donna Shea, and to give you some idea what it means is everybody who wants to receive a teaching license has to be signed off by the Dean of Education in a college, which is Dean Blackburn. Dean Blackburn is too busy to sign 200 licensures, so he delegates that authority to what's called OCFBI. Every university does that. Dean Blackburn, or all these deans, cannot handle all the people wanting to do all this internship, so they delegate it. So nearly every college has a field-based instruction area, and that's what we have, which is called OCFBI. When you go, it says right here, internship, it's going to be running your student teaching. So let's just go ahead and go in here to assessments. You'll see in the assessments the TIAI, and that's how you will be assessed as a student teacher. It also has forms here. You can look at all of these. If you want to take an additional course during teacher internship while you're student teaching, which they now call internship, you can have to fill out this form. If you have Phase 2 pre-service licensure form, teacher intern application, dispositions and infractions. If you're a bad student, you've done something bad, you've cheated, you've been very rude to a professor, they can also do a dispositions infraction on you. And so these are all documents or paperwork that we have. You have resources that'll help. It goes into a net ID. They won't let you do anything. It actually has you have to log in to get that. They have training and elements like that. The big thing is the TIAI. The TIAI used to be called the STAI, the Student Teacher Assessment Instrument. However, due to the fact that some people are an alternate route, they're not student teachers. They're just interns. So they changed it to the Teacher Intern Assessment Instrument. You'll notice it's based on the 10 standards of the INTASC, INTASK, which is the Interstate New Teacher Assessment Support Consortium, which means that we're aligning our standards with a national consortium of all other colleges. The TIAI has been adopted by all colleges and also in the state of Mississippi. So the TIAI is not in other states, it's only in Mississippi, but it's lined up with a national consortium of other colleges, items such as that. So if we look at the form, this is what the TIAI instrument looks like. And it's very confusing, but it's not confusing if you understand what you're looking at. So we'll go through it step by step. Make sure I'm still recording, but there's no way I can check my audio, which is weird, but that's okay. I'm hoping I'm doing well. All right, so this is the TIAI. When you are being a student teacher, you will be observed with the TIAI. Step 1, indicator. Domain 1 is planning and preparation, which is what you've done in this class with your lesson plans. So you'll notice right here it says develops, measure. There should be a way I can zoom in, which I can. Develops, measures, measurable and observable grade and subject level objectives. So whenever I go to observe you, I'm going to look to see if your objectives are properly written. That way, that would be exceeds, meets, needs, or unacceptable. As you look at domain 2, develops meaningful and authentic learning experiences. So whenever you create your lesson plans, did they have meaningful and learning experiences, such as cooperative learning, lesson questions and answers, did you do oral histories, stuff that's going to make things meaningful. These are very easy to assess. Integrates core content knowledge across and within subject areas and lessons. So, did you hit the major areas in social studies, such as geography, such as history, such as economics? You have to do them all, but did you hit the core content knowledge areas? As you scroll down, plans appropriate and sequential teaching procedures. What column do you think that would be in on your lesson plan? It would be this word. Procedures. So did you have a good sequential? Did the procedures move well in your lesson plan? Very easy to do. Plans indicates appropriate assessments. What column would that be in? There you go, assessments. He's rocking and rolling today. All right, plans includes technology that will engage students in analysis, creativity, deeper learning experiences. So did you use any type of technology? You don't have to, but do your lesson plans indicate that you have technology in there? You'll notice that that is Domain 1. So Domain 1 deals with lesson plans, which means before you even are observed by a university supervisor, when you're teaching a one class period lesson. I'll back that up. What happens is your university supervisor, do you know what that means? No. So you're a student intern in a school. You will have a classroom mentor teacher who's there helping you every day, your classroom teacher, also known as a CMT, all right? Then you have a university supervisor, which is usually a college professor or instructor, who will come in there and observe you 4 times teaching and also grade all your online work. So that's how that works. That's called a university supervisor. So when your university supervisor comes, they observe you with all of these. And they are going, when they sit down to do the TIAI, you will be teaching. They will walk in right when the bell rings usually. They will sit in the back of the classroom. They do not want you to acknowledge them. They just want to have class. You teach. Your first domain should already be graded because you've already emailed your lesson plans to them the day before. They've already graded that. They don't have to worry about any of this. See, that's why Domain 1 is done, because you don't have to worry about it if you plan well. Story time. I was observing one student teacher. I always say, I'm coming tomorrow. Let me know if anything changes, and I'll turn around. And I said, I'll be there tomorrow at the second period, 11 o'clock, whatever. So I showed up, and she had this look on her face of kind of shock. And I was like, okay. So what happened then was she started trying to wing it, and I could tell immediately. So I sat down at the back table, and I said, do you have your lesson plans for the day? And because she hadn't emailed them to me. So she handed me the lesson plans, and then she started teaching. So I was looking at the lesson plans, I was like, something's not right here. This is not the right lesson plan. It just didn't feel right. So Domain 1 immediately just started failing. I was like, this is not a good lesson plan. Something's wrong here. So then she taught and everything else. At the end of the lesson, I called her over. I said, we need to talk. So we sat down. I said, I'll make up a name, Brenda or whatever. I said, Brenda, what's going on with this lesson? And she said, what do you mean? I said, so she kind of still sparred with me. What do you mean, Ratliff? And I said, well, your objectives were not aligned with what you taught. Your procedures were not outlined. And Domain 1 really suffered. And she went, well, I'll tell you the truth. I forgot you were coming today. So I was like, oh. So what happened was she saw me enter the classroom, thought, I'll wing it because I'm good at teaching, and I'll just throw some lesson plans at him and hopefully he won't read them. So she tried to wing it, which resulted in a failing assessment. And that was not good. So her actual letter grade for her student teaching went down from an A to a B, all because of a bad assessment. Because all she had to do was when I walked in say, hey, I completely forgot you were coming, and can you come back tomorrow? And I'm like, sure, that's fine. That's what she should have done. But she tried to wing it, engage the assessment, and the assessment went wrong because she was hoping I wouldn't read. But the truth is, Domain 1 should be graded before I even get there. Sometimes you forget to send them to me, so I'll grade them when you're there. No big deal. All right, so Domain 2. Domain 2 is, let's see if we can find it, the assessment. So this deals completely with how you're assessing your objectives. Communicates assessment criteria. So when you're teaching the class and you say, okay, folks, now you're going to do a lecture. You're going to do a speech for me, and this is how I'm going to grade you based on this rubric. You are communicating your assessment to the student. Simple as that. All right, next one right here. Uses formative and summative assessments. All right? So just to make sure everyone's listening, if you are not in class right now, you're not live streaming this, and you're watching the recording, you need to email me the word assessment to prove to me that you are listening to our lectures. So you should email it to me now. I do that because sometimes people don't listen to the lectures. All right, so uses formative and summative. Formative means you build up someone, and summative means it's a final assessment. So if I give you a homework assignment, that's a formative assessment. If I give you a final exam project, that's a summative. It means it's a final project. Good, simple as that. So once again, Domain 2 is about assessment, and will be done before you even get to lecture, because I have read your paperwork, read your lesson plans, and it's that simple. Domain 3. Instruction. And this is why if you're in practicum, I have asked people to create a observation of 1 hour where you observe and score the teacher on Domain 3 and 4, which is instruction. And guess what 4 is? That's pretty easy. See if we can find it. Learning environment. So if you're going to observe someone, and especially when you're in 3643, which is a 50-hour observation packet, we ask a lot of times when you're observing people to get out the TIAI and just score the teacher on Domain 3 and 4. Why can you not do Domain 1 and 2? Because you don't have their lesson. You don't have their lesson plans. Good answer. So I ask people to observe on Domain 3 and 4. So 3 is uses standard written, oral, and nonverbal communication. I would meet myself as meet standards after 19 years of teaching school. I'm still probably a meet the standards. I speak too fast. I mumble. I'm still working on that, and I need to do better. But it's going to be something that takes a long time. Provides written and oral directions. Do you speak clearly on your directions? Are there any questions? Do you take the pregnant pause, also known as wait time, 3 to 5 seconds? When you ask a question, do you pause? And I've tried to explain this to a lot of my classes, but it's hard to do with, I have one student in here right now. It's hard to do with one student because it's awkward. But whenever you do a pregnant pause, there is a moment in the pause that it shifts. So right now, everyone is looking at me. And if I don't say anything and I pause, you still look at me. But if I ask a question, how are you doing today? And I pause, there's a moment that you can feel, especially when you're teaching, there's a moment you can feel that the focus will shift away from you, because who's supposed to speak next? The students. And it actually flips to them. Are there any questions? Too broad. But if I say, what was the lesson of the Battle of Gettysburg? You can feel the shift go to the student, and the answer is supposed to go to them. If I say, are there any questions? Most of the time the students are saying, no, no questions, no questions, and they know that they don't even have to answer. See, that's the thing. If you say, is everybody okay today? We don't have to answer that. But if I ask a question, is there any questions about the economics of Germany before World War I? Too easy. What was the economic situation of Germany before World War II? Now that requires a response. And I pause. That's called wait time. And you can actually feel the question shift to the student. And it's very awkward. You combine that with moving around. Teaching behind someone is very awkward for them. That's hard to do when you got 38 students in class. If you can move around, ask questions, that creates a learning environment where everyone's on their toes. You'll actually have students, they'll leave the classroom and they'll go to another teacher's and they'll just sleep. They're like, man, that class is too intense. She walks around, or he walks around. He speaks slowly, clearly. He asks questions, expects me to respond, or if not, it makes me feel uncomfortable. See, it's just awkward. I always have to be on my toes because I may get asked a question. Plus, he's always behind me. That's a very stimulating environment. I always compare it with buying a car. You go buy a car, they want you to go on a test drive. Where do they sit? Behind you. What do they do? Ask you questions. You get done buying a car and you're mentally drained. This person asked me 1,000 questions. Asked me how I felt. Asked me all about my job. Everything. You know, because you don't go in there and go, can I just relax and look at a car? No. The only place you ever go to relax is mattress buying. Because what do they say when you buy a mattress? Lay on it as long as you want to. Because the mattress is supposed to be relaxing. But whenever you're trying to buy a car, they're trying to get information from you that's going to help the negotiation. They're trying to do all this stuff. They're also trying to get information from you to get you the right car, the right fit. What are you looking for? Well, I want a truck. Let's get you some trucks. See, it's supposed to be mentally draining. Classrooms are supposed to be that way. You're supposed to go to a class, they ask questions, you have to stay mentally on top of things. It's going to be very tiring. Very tiring. So, written oral communications. Communicates positive expectations. Good job. We're going to learn this. We're going to do a better job. Y'all are a bunch of idiots. You're stupid. That's not positive. Now, we don't want to be so positive it sounds like we have no central nervous system. We don't want to be like, oh, everything's happy, everything else. But you actually want to say, in here we're learning. In here we're going to do well. Simple as that. Because are you happy to be there? So many times we've seen teachers who are just miserable. It's like, here we go again. And I talk to other coworkers like that, and they have negative experiences with people. And I do believe that your personal experience, what's going on in your personal life, declaring bankruptcy, divorce, death of a father or a mother, those are things that we're all having to go through. Not me. I'm not declaring bankruptcy. I don't know why I said that. I'm not going through a divorce. But think about all the events in your life that you're being stressful, such as death of a parent. I've gone through that. Death of a loved one. Marriage. That's stressful. I had a story time. I had a student teacher tell me, I'm going to student teach, I'm going to build a house, and I'm going to get married all in the same semester. I said, you're insane. I said, it's crazy. Why would you do that? What happened? She got married. She built a house. She dropped out of college and came back next year. And she said, it was just too much. I said, yeah, you think? Too much stress. Too much stress. And because that we're going through stress, sometimes that leaks over to our job. So you come to your job and you're like, I'm bad. I'll be honest with you. It's Tuesday at 12:30 or 12:45 or whatever time it is. I was looking forward to this class because I didn't have to sit in my office and record a lecture all by myself. I knew I could set my Yeti mic up, come in here, meet a student, and do a recorded lecture and just teach it. No big deal. I'm kind of stressed out, hoping the microphone's working because there's no flashy thing right here, kind of making me upset, kind of got me worried, hoping it's working. If not, who cares? But that's one little thing. I wish they had some system which showed me the audio. Never mind. Anyway, but sometimes stress comes over on your job. This week for me, not that stressful because I get to do this and this is going to be fun. Knock this lecture out. Easy. And actually I was going to teach something else, but the student in the classroom said, can you tell me about TIA? And I was like, I haven't taught that. So teachable moment. I love it. I love teaching. But sometimes our stress goes into our job. Now with that said, that doesn't mean that you hate your job. It means you're having a bad day. And sometimes you have a bad year. Sometimes your parents are sick of cancer or they've got Alzheimer's or something's going on and you're having a bad year. But you don't need to have a bad career. I hate my job, don't know why I'm here, and you hate your job for years. That's called burnout. You don't want that. So actually act like you're happy to be there. Now, I've got some coworkers who are like, I love my job. I'm happy all the time. And I'm like, that's a little bit too much. All right, not everybody's happy all the time. But you definitely need to have some. I enjoy teaching. I don't enjoy dealing with grading. I don't enjoy dealing with this. But you should enjoy teaching. If you don't enjoy teaching, then you're going to fail this. And you should enjoy teaching. Right? The students have opportunities to cooperate. In here, I'm not doing much because I have one student, and I don't want to punish one student for being here by himself and just keep bombarding you with questions and having you, and that's not fair to you, obviously. Demonstrates content knowledge. All right, do you know what you're talking about? If you say Hitler escaped the bunker and died in Cuba in 1981, you clearly don't understand content. You're making stuff up. You're based on conspiracy theory. If you say that Kennedy was killed by Oswald, but there may have been a conspiracy, I'll let you slide with that. Even though most research have concluded that it was Oswald by himself, I'm okay with that. But that shows me that you know more about it, and that's fine, and you want to talk about it. But if you're just teaching stuff off the wall, if you get the years wrong for the Great Depression, if you're like, this is 1850, I'm like, what? And one thing, so this rarely happens, all right? Most of the times our student teachers get in. I've never had a student teacher fail this indicator. I'll just say all the time. You should know your content. You should know what you're teaching. Now, here's the issue I have, especially social studies. Who's your social studies teacher here? Dr. Bates. Yeah, Dr. Bates. And I'll record this so y'all all can hear it. Dr. Bates is one of the best history teachers we've ever had. One of the best history teachers I've ever seen. And I've heard the stories, how great he is. And here's y'all's problem about it. You listen to Toby Bates' lecture, and they're wonderful. I love this. Toby Bates is the greatest teacher in the world. And then you get out there in the classrooms, and you're the most boring teacher in the world. So I'm like, look, take Toby's stories, his excitement, and be that way. So make history come alive. You know the material, but you're like, in 1861, Fort Sumter was shot at. Write that note down. 1862, the Battle of Shiloh. Write that note down. No, tell the stories. But they got to know the years. Why? See, make history come alive. That's the hard part. That's the hard part. Getting into your comfort zone and teaching. That's hard. Right. So, use a variety of appropriate teaching strategies. Did you do group work, lectures? Did you move around? Did you use technology? Did you throw videos up? Little strategies, little things to treat. With that said, story time. I love my stories. I had a teacher years ago, straight A student, 4.0, the best student we had, probably. We always get one or two. 4.0s, they're the best. Can't teach. Because she got into the classroom. She gets behind the podium and she just lectures notes. And then meanwhile, I got my C student, my B student, the Ratliffs I call them because I was a good B student, and especially undergrad. Graduate school, I was A student. But undergrad, B student, B, C. And I'm walking around teaching, doing this, doing that, let's talk about this, let's talk about that. What I have always discovered is the straight A students have trouble with this indicator, the strategies. Are you moving around? Are you showing videos? Are you showing technology? Are you showing things? Well, no, because I'm scared, and I want to stay right here under the comfort of this podium. So try not to do that. Try other things. That's one of the keys. Next one, planned learning experiences accommodate differences, which means tactile, kinesthetic, audio, visual. Are you showing this? Are you showing audio? Are you letting students move around? My daughter, I love her. But, here's the but. She can play with this slime all day. There's this slime these kids play with. It's just slime, and it's like Play-Doh, but slimy. I don't get it. And she plays all day. And I look at her and I said, that girl's tactile. She wants to touch stuff and move stuff with her hands. My son, pure auditorial, pure visual. He wants to see it, laugh, hear the story. My daughter wants to touch stuff. We went running to the woods. My son likes to watch running and see how it's going. My daughter has to feel the running on her feet. I'm like, watch out for those stumps. Watch out for those roots. My son looks at the roots. My daughter has to feel the roots with her feet. She has to understand what it means to trip on a root. It's different. It's different kind of learning. Me, on the other hand, I'm very tactile. I have to experience something. I can watch running all I want to, but I have to experience running to understand what it's like. So that's the whole idea. It's very tactile. So make sure you engage that. Engages all students in critical thinking. Do you ask higher order questions? Not tougher questions, but do you have questions that are actually important? All right. So, for example, what was the Civil War fought over? All right. We don't know. But here's a higher order question. It's real simple. If we say the Civil War is fought over slavery, what does that mean? Think about it. I didn't say the Civil War is fought over slavery. I said, if we said the Civil War is fought over slavery, what does that mean? Well, is slavery good or bad? Bad. So that means the South fought for what? something bad. So there's your issue. But the Civil War wasn't fought over slavery. So then you can have higher order questions over that. You can ask questions like that. Okay, well, if the Civil War was not fought over slavery, what was it fought over? States' rights. All right, what do you mean, states' rights? To own slaves. No, you have to make a better argument than that. We need to think higher. Well, 9% of people who fought in the Civil War didn't own slaves. Okay, well, let's go with that. Well, what were they fighting for? Honor. Okay, well, there you go. So what you want to do is ask higher order questions. Questions that make people think. It's key. Now, if you think the Civil War was fought over slavery or not, that's up to you. But I want you to think higher order questions. Make people think more difficult. Adjust instruction based on needed, and that's what I did today. I would be exceeding because I saw there was a need for TIAI, so I modified my instruction. Uses family or community resources instruction to impact student learning and development. That's an indicator that people, I still give a good score on, but it's so hard to do. What it means is oral histories, maybe a library, also, community resources. The best resource for community resources is a library, usually a local library. When I'm driving through the Delta, through anywhere in Mississippi, and I see like Itta Bena, Money, Mississippi. There's nothing in Money, Mississippi. But some of these towns, you see public library. Stop. Just hit the brakes and pull into the public library. And the reason is this. Forget the books. I don't care about the books. But the majority of public libraries in Mississippi, these little small school places, have artifacts, signed documents, something from the community. You will find Civil War battle flags in libraries. You'll find copies of John Grisham novels signed. Where did y'all get this? Well, he came by 20 years ago and we got him to sign it. You will find little bitty museums in these communities. You'll find oral history sections, letter sections. I went to Boonville, Mississippi. I live near Boonville, Mississippi. And I went to the library and I said, do y'all have anything on the Battle of Boonville? And they're like, well, yeah, we do. Now you go to Tupelo Library, anything on the Battle of Boonville? What's that? The Battle of Boonville was after the Battle of Shiloh, the Confederate Army ran to Boonville, Mississippi, or they ran to Corinth, and they moved to Boonville, and they evacuated Boonville. But when they evacuated from Boonville, there was a very small skirmish. Like just a couple of guns were shot, which became known as the Battle of Boonville. So I go to the Boonville Library and I say, yeah, anything about Battle of Boonville? Yeah. This historian did a bunch of research on it and just left his notes. Never wrote an article on it, never wrote a book on it. He just left his notes. And there in a box was 100 pages of maps he drew about the Battle of Boonville that no one ever used, no one ever read. That's a community resource right there. That's very nice. Meridian's got some stuff at the Meridian Public Library. Those are very good little community resources. This goes into classroom management. Domain 4 is. Classroom is very positive, very fair. Attends the delegate's tasks, like do you take role? Multiple strategies to foster student behavior. Do you manage the classroom well? Is there fairness, safety, respect, support for all students? Maximize instructional time. I failed one student on this story time, another one. She was a teacher. I forgot where it was. I don't know names. I forget names. But what it was I still remember the classroom. I still remember the faces. And what happened was, she was intimidated by a student, by a male student, and I don't know why she was scared of him, because he really wasn't scary. But she was intimidated by his presence. So she allowed him to do stuff that was inappropriate. He was allowed to say stuff and pick on people, and she never corrected that. And I don't know why she did that. And I asked her later, I said, why are you intimidated by him? And she said, I'm not intimidated by him. I said, well, and I said, you let him do this and this and this and this and this. And she's like, oh. So she didn't see that. She did not have a fair environment. It actually got so bad, this is hard to explain, but I will try. She never corrected him, but he was such a disruption. He caused so much trouble that she would correct the person beside him. So he would be over there sitting to Carla, and he's like, hey, Carla, what's going on? What are we doing this weekend? And she would say, Carla, be quiet. So she was not correcting him because she was intimidated by him, so she corrected whoever he was talking to. So what did he do? He just moved to the next person and started talking to that person. Of course, what happened was she failed the assessment because she failed these indicators. And of course, I knew what was going to happen. She blamed him for it. And then the next time I came to observe, he was like under lockdown. Anytime he said something, she told him to be quiet, and she overcorrected him, which was fine. I understood that was going to happen. She blamed him, but it really wasn't his fault. She should have been blaming herself. She was intimidated by him. I think she was intimidated by him because he had the attitude that he was going to give it back to her. Like if she said be quiet, he'd say no. So what happens with that is if you got a student who says you be quiet, and he says no, you got to break that. You got to say yes, you will be quiet. And if he says no, I will not be quiet, then you need to move up your discipline ladder. You go to the office or whatever you got to do. But she was afraid to take that to the next level. She finally did, and she broke him. He learned that he couldn't do that in that class because this classroom mentor teacher wore him out. She put him in detention. She said, "We're not doing this." She broke him. But the classroom mentor teacher didn't realize that this was happening either. For some reason, the student teacher just was intimidated by this guy, and I don't know why. But anyway, multiple strategies. So if someone's acting up, if someone's got a cell phone out, do you tap the desk? Do you say put that up? Little things like that. Creates a culturally inclusive environment, promotes fairness, maximize instructional time. And I'll tell this before I leave. Number one way to fail an assessment whenever you're being student teaching, real simple. Classroom bell's going to ring. Every kid's lined up at the door, like it's the race time. That gets me, and it makes me want to just leave. For some reason, the kids all have watches, so they're like, okay, we got 5 minutes till class is over with. They start counting down. They put their books up, and then they all of a sudden just start getting up and stand by the door. What needs to happen is, with student teaching, is step 1, buy a watch. Step 2, program the watch with the bells. You know when the bell is going to ring, and you teach until the bell. You just teach and teach and teach. You're looking at your watch. I got 10 seconds. Okay, class, today we learned a lot. You can go ahead and put your stuff up. Stay there. Let me ask you, what did we learn in this class? And you start asking questions. You have a closure. The bell rings. They don't leave. The bell tells you when they leave. And you say, okay, no more questions. You may leave. See, that's what gets people, student teachers. They don't maximize their time. Or they're taking roll. Billy, are you here? Present. John Banks. What are you doing? Just get a seating chart. Maximize time. Boom. So it's about good transition. So that's what the TIA is. TIAI is. And it's a very simple instrument. Questions? So you would just do domain 3 and 4 in the practicum class. So now I'm going to do real quick. To help your teaching, they go on down here to 3. Where's my using pictures? This is some things you can do with your teaching to make your teaching better. Do this. Using pictures to encourage literacy. So let's just walk through some pictures. This is an old picture of they started doing this. They take an old abandoned building, and then they take one of the old pictures, and they do something like that. Very cool. Look at these pictures right here. There you go. This is can anyone guess? East German soldier escaping East Germany during the Cold War by jumping over the fence. I like this picture because of that right there. All he has to do is snag it, and they'll shoot him. So that jump's very important. Let's make the jump. This is an image, I believe, of Dresden or Berlin after the war. Complete destruction. I like this picture because it's in color. I thought that was something that's hard to find, a very nice color picture. But you'll notice, especially from the 50s and the 60s, you'll notice that this is from segregation era. It says colored entrance, and they're in their Sunday best, which I don't know if the picture was staged or not, but most times people came to town after church or on weekends, and they dressed real nice because it was a big event. But you see, this is what we get the idea of racism right here. In fact, go to the courthouse. Go to the Lauderdale County Courthouse and count how many water fountains there are. You'll be surprised. There are a lot of water fountains because there actually were black and white water fountains. even those days. And because the courthouse is so old, they really never changed them. This is James Dean lying in his coffin while he's alive. He was posing in it as just a, hey, this is me laying here. Sad enough, he died a week later in a car crash. Dream as you'll live forever. Live as if you'll die today. Who is that? Do you know? Come on, you know that. Well, that's just Bin Laden. Yeah, pictures like that. This is an Atlas 1 or 2 rocket, I believe. When we were trying to get to the moon, we had to go through all those, learning how to use a rocket. Kind of a cool picture. Louis Armstrong outside Egypt playing the trumpet to his wife, I believe. If you have to ask what jazz is, you'll never know. All right. JFK on the day he died. Mr. President, you can't say Dallas doesn't love you, said the governor's wife to President Kennedy. I believe this is the Titanic, and a picture of, this is in Ireland, not the day it sunk, the week I think of. Mrs. Edith Brown Haseman, the oldest survivor of the Titanic, died at the age of 100. She was 15 years old when placed in lifeboat number 13. This gets me. As the Titanic sank, her father, Thomas Brown, a glass of brandy in hand, waved from the deck saying, I will see you in New York. Her father knew he was going to die, but the one memory he wanted to give her was a very positive experience. He gave her hope. I will see you, even though he knew he was going to die. That's a great father, I would obviously say. The brandy, going out in style, I would say. I shall see you in New York. You know, and also, obviously, I would need brandy too if I was going to get in that water, because I'm going to need some alcohol because it's very cold. In case you didn't know, alcohol numbs the pain when you get cold. That's why homeless people who are alcoholics usually die of freezing, because as they're drinking alcohol, they forget that sense of being cold. And then they all of a sudden go into hypothermia. Alcoholics die a lot of freezing. That's actually true. I don't make stuff up. You know? So, in case you don't know what this is, guess, come on. Too late. Bombing of Pearl Harbor. In this video, you'll notice something. This picture, actually showed them that there was a submarine in the harbor or near the harbor. There's always that big debate about, did the Japanese get a submarine in it? They actually did, and they proved it because of this picture. I don't know, somewhere in here they said that they found the part of the submarine. What happened was, after the ships were sunk, they took the ships, they picked them up with cranes, and they dumped a lot of that stuff out in the ocean or outside the bay. And when they did that, they picked up one of the mini-subs that they had sunk and put it over there too. So they found it a couple of years, 20 or 30 years later, but this picture helped determine that, they say. I fear all we've done is awaken a sleeping giant and fill him with a terrible resolve. Yamamoto said that. All right, this is Richard Nixon campaigning for president. I like this picture because look at all the cameras. That was the olden days of Kodak, when everybody had the camera and they had to wind it, and y'all don't remember those days. Oh well, it happens. This is the picture I like to show when I'm talking about JFK's assassination, because this is in Berlin, Germany, and it shows you how he traveled then. Look at how he was here. And when people always talk about conspiracy theories and Oswald didn't shoot him and everything else, look how easy it was to get a balcony. Look how easy it was to get a line of sight on the president. It was just not smart. No one assumed someone would do that. It's just not smart to travel that way without. But anyway, this is a picture from the 70s or 80s. Shows a black state trooper and a young kid dressed up in a Klan outfit. One of the boys approached a black state trooper who was holding his riot shield on the ground. Seeing his reflection, the boy reached for the shield, and Robinson snapped the photo. Almost immediately, the mother swooped in and took away the toddler, whom she identified as Josh. The moment was fleeting, and almost no one noticed it, but the reporter had captured the image. See, there's the actual reflection there he's playing with. And we still don't know who that kid was to this day. These are the Goebbels from Germany. They ended up killing themselves He became the Fuhrer after Hitler killed himself in the bunker, and then he killed himself shortly afterwards. This is the Dust Bowl, an image of the Dust Bowl during, I think, Kansas. Houses were shut tight, the cloth wedged around doors and windows, but the dust came in so thinly that it could not be seen in the air, and it settled like pollen, like we have on our cars now, on the chairs and tables, on the dishes. These are, come on, you got it. Buffalo skulls. That's how many buffaloes we killed with the one reason to get rid of the Native Americans. To find employment for the few weeks which must ensue before breaking up camp was sometimes a difficult task. To break the monotony, and give horses and men exercise, buffalo hunts were organized in which everyone joined heartily. Where do you think this is? This is easy. 1946, 1948. This is the White House. That was inside the White House when they renovated it. That's why Truman had to stay at the Vice President, the Blair House. They actually had a dump truck inside it. Oh, kind of amazing. They actually gutted it, and if you drove by the White House, you actually saw the White House, thinking it was beautiful. That was what was inside. I never realized that. You ain't learning nothing when you're talking. That's an old quote. I thought that was kind of cool. This is the Great Depression. We'll buy anything, lost all my money in the stock market. Who was that guy? Come on, you know that. Who's the guy in his underwear? Well, that's Ronald Reagan, obviously, in case you didn't know.
I couldn't see that until after he said that.
That's right.
I can see it now.
Yeah, you can't unsee it. That looks just like Reagan, but no, it doesn't until you see Reagan. This is from Canada during World War II, a young boy running to his father before he left to give him one last hug. The man did survive the war. The marriage did not. There was a divorce. It's sad. This, of course, is Bill Clinton shaking the hand of JFK. There's a video on it which I won't show. Hindenburg, the actual crash. Here's the video of the crash. I want that one. Look at that. Of course, I don't know why they would. It really wasn't the best way to travel. It was too slow, but it became a rich person, kind of like a voyage, right in the Hindenburg. That's actual. They did this to promote the cities, and that's not too bad. This is the actual video from it because I thought that can't be real.
Now back to the Empire State, a ledge on the 86th floor. Have a view. These lads are acrobats who want to get their names in the paper, and they easily could in the obituary column.
It wasn't that. There's the take down words of caution for pictures, and you sometimes need to give warnings on pictures because one reason is pictures can be cropped, so we have to worry about pictures. For example, this is Tank Man from what?
That's like the revolution.
Tiananmen Square, when the Chinese got upset and they started protesting, and then the Chinese government brought in their tanks. This picture is iconic, but I disagree with this picture. It is cropped. I say let's include the uncropped picture. That's the uncropped picture. And the reason I say include that is, look how many tanks China brought just to quail a democracy protest. This I get. A man standing, this shows that a human being can stand up to a tank. But that, to me, is more powerful. Why would China think that was a good idea? These are troops, by the way. So, of course, they came in that night or the night before. This is a cropped picture. Why is it cropped? Of course, that's Elvis. What's cropped is this. They didn't include his girlfriend because they didn't want it to make it look like Elvis had a girlfriend. Of course, Elvis had a lot of girlfriends. We all know that. When I first saw you with your smile so tender, my heart was captured, my soul surrendered. So whenever the ladies bought the record, they didn't want to think he was singing to her. They wanted to think he was singing to them alone. See, that was a little power of that. Of course, this is, I think, the Lonely Hearts, Sergeant Pepper's. They used a lot of cutouts for this. This is what it looked like. They actually had Hitler cut out they were going to include, but they decided not to. So, yeah, I didn't know. I was like, that's weird. They actually were going to include Hitler somewhere here, just, hey, as a moment. But they were like, we better not. See, everything we cried. There are places I remember all my life, though. Some have changed. Some forever, not for better. Some have gone, and some remain. One of his quotes, he said. There's the Hitler. This, of course, is Christopher Columbus. Here's what it is. Sailed this day 19 leagues. I don't know how far that is. And determined to count less than the true number. That's what I like. Because I don't want the crew to get upset. I'm just not going to say how far we're really going. Right? So it's like whenever your kids say how far, till we get to somewhere. A couple more minutes. This is, I forgot who this guy, Bob Dylan maybe? And the Hurricane. He wrote a song about that. They call him the Hurricane. Here comes the story of the Hurricane, the man the authorities came to blame for something that he never done. Put him in a prison cell, but one time he could have been the champion of the world. He's a famous boxer. This is climbing Mount Everest. It's not the mountain we conquer, but ourselves. Very sad picture. A young boy in Ethiopia, I believe, starving, and there's the buzzard standing over him. People highly criticized this picture because they said, instead of taking the picture, you should have saved the boy. But here was the problem. There were hundreds of those boys. So everybody's like, why didn't you save the boy? What are they going to do, feed him? Because he would be dead the next day anyway. They were all dying. See, that's what the Americans didn't understand when they criticized the reporter was, he was like, look, I took the picture. He was going to die anyway. And if I had saved him, he'd have died the next day. He was beyond it. So that was the starvations of the Sudan era. This is the picture of the photographer. Of course, he later committed suicide. Now, I read his suicide note. It says, I am depressed without phone, money for rent, money for child support, money for debts, money. I am haunted by the vivid memories of killings, corpses, anger, and pain, of starving or wounded children, of trigger-happy madmen, often police, killer executioners. I've gone to join Ken if I am that lucky. I think Ken was his son or brother. I don't know that. But when I read this note, I see two things. He's still haunted by what he saw in the war. And the other thing, to me, I get this, money. Stressing out over money is a big issue that hurts people. It actually also destroys marriages. I'm not having marriage trouble because I've mentioned that twice. But I talked to a banker who told me that when people have issues with money, stress goes up. And then between husband and wife, they fight more. Then they stop sleeping in the same bed. That's what happens with money. So money's a big issue. So when I read his suicide note, I see that money, starving. Just gets him. He ended up killing himself. Winston Churchill, like that old picture. I may be drunk, miss, but in the morning I'll be sober, and you will still be ugly. That's what he said to a horse. Churchill always got the good quotes. I love this picture because it's insanity. This is John Lennon with the man who later killed him. And what happened was John Lennon would always leave his New York City apartment and go there. And there was this photographer who took his picture. He always took his picture. And the reason the photographer took his picture was because Lennon would sometimes say, hey, I'm back in town. And the photographer would say, yeah, I got these pictures I took. And he'd say, oh, yeah, let me see them. I'll take them. I'll buy them from you for a couple $1,000. So that's what Lennon would do. And then Lennon would sometimes invite the photographer upstairs and to his apartment where Yoko Ono and him would take pictures together. So that's one reason why photographers hung around, so they could sell the pictures to Lennon. Well, one time Lennon left the apartment, the photographer took a picture, and this guy was asking for an autograph, and that was, I think, Chapman. And here's the story of when he got killed. And so that's it. Now remember this. Have you seen this video? I want you to count how many times they throw the ball. Wearing white. Count it. How many times?
Like 14?
Okay. Is that the correct answer?
I don't know.
Did you see the monkey?
Yeah.
Half the students see it. Yes. The correct answer is 15. The point of that video is that, the gorilla. The point is half the people never see it. And the point is, when you focus on one thing, you sometimes don't see the whole picture. So pictures can be deceiving. Simple as that. Good. Half the students always see it. It can be connected to visual learning. For example, through this PowerPoint slide, this Prezi slide right here, you have seen 39 pictures, 5 videos, and 737 words. Over 2 full pages of text. All by sitting back and just enjoying the watch. And just getting that. See, so if you can, when you're doing your lesson plans, if you do any lesson plans this semester, but it's definitely in 46, 43, think about doing some slideshows where you can do pictures. And to show you how fun Prezi can be, instead of using PowerPoint, remember Prezi is just a board. And you can put all these pictures. This is what my board looks like. That is 2 pages of text. That's all, and all those pictures. So think about using pictures in your lectures. Think about how that can be easy. A lot of my student teachers say, well, we have poor internet connection. These pictures do not take much internet at all. You just put them up there. So that's that. Hope you enjoyed the lecture. So I did 2 things today. To recap, I went over the TIAI, so you'll be ready for that when you student teach. And the second thing I did was I taught you how to use pictures to enhance your instruction and put those in Prezi. I'll probably do a homework assignment where you have to use Prezi. Have you done it before? All right, so what you do is you just go to Prezi.com. I think I'm going to do a homework assignment where you do Prezi. We really need to learn this real simple presentation tool. And you're going to see it says Prezi next. If you can, get the Prezi Classic. That's the better one. Also, never pay for Prezi. Never. It's going to keep asking you, do you want to pay? Just keep going to the free. Find the free. And what you do is you do a new presentation. And it's all Prezi is a big old whiteboard. And you just put pictures on it, videos. You put whatever you want to. So I want you to play around. I'll do a homework assignment where you just have to do a Prezi. Real simple. So that's it. I hope you learned a lot today. And let me go ahead and maybe everything worked. Ooh, 53 minutes, good.